The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and at my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you are all welcome and encouraged to post your comments, whether they are in concert with mine or not. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio. Well, we are syndicated coast to coast across the United States of America into 12 million additional households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. I'm coming to you live from the Gin Mill in Harrisburg, PA, where the State Democratic Party has gathered to watch the returns come in to determine who won in Pennsylvania and by how much and how that affects the race for the nomination for President of the United States on the Democratic side of the aisle. The polls closed just as we went to air, and we are hearing that the exit polls, according to the cable networks and the other news media, are too close to call. CNN does not want to project yet, which is kind of surprising because everybody had suggested going into this race that Hillary Clinton was going to win, maybe not by a wide margin, but a significant enough margin that, Chris Matthews today at MSNBC was saying this morning that he was anticipating that at 8:01, MSNBC would be projecting, and they were going to probably project Hillary Clinton as the winner. If, in fact, the results are too close to call based on the exit polling, that may indicate that even if Hillary wins, it will not be by a very large margin. And if she doesn't win by an extremely large margin, she may not be able to continue on with her campaign. If, in fact, by some miracle from the Obama camp's standpoint, Barack Obama actually pulls off an upset here in the Keystone State, well, she's toast. There's no question about that. Joining us, as she did during the 5 o'clock hour, is reporter Lynn Landis of the Landis Report. She's joining us from her perch in Philadelphia, in central Philadelphia. And Lynn, are you surprised that they are balking the cable news network at projecting a winner?
Well, I was kind of surprised, that they weren't saying that it was going to be too close to call earlier on, in a couple of weeks ago, because you could see so much excitement for Obama on the streets of Philadelphia, at least. And as I said before, I felt it really across the country. He's got the momentum. And although things had happened in New York, New Jersey, California, where she won the race, but in all the other small states, he was winning by large numbers. And again, of course, the name of my game is don't trust these machines. So, it's hard to say what's really gone on here, but I have to say the feeling on the ground has been very much more pro-Obama than Hillary. So I sort of expected it would be very close, and to me this makes sense.
Well, Alan Jacey, our political correspondent, said during the 5 o'clock hour that the polls are taken by landline, and there was an extremely large turnout at the university and college towns, and he was suggesting that they weren't included, the kids who, first-time voters who might lean toward Obama in the polling because they're on cell phones, they're not on landlines.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And the thing is, the frustration on campus, particularly over the war, and many of these students go down to Washington, they do those marches, and it's so frustrating to see all that effort being ignored, that their other outlet is the polling place, and it makes sense that that's where they're going to vent their frustrations over what's gone on, particularly, again, with the war.
Well, we have some prognostications from our own audience. Great message writes, in text in our virtual auditorium. I predict Hillary will win 11% in Pennsylvania, but exit polls will indicate that she won by 6%. And that speaks to what somebody else said during the 5 o'clock hour, that there might be some point shaving going on here in Pennsylvania.
Well, that wouldn't be the first time that has happened, because when we look at possible vote fraud, you actually need to look at the pre-election polling, because the exit polls, it depends on who is conducting them. In general, the exit poll you see on election night for these major elections, not for your local races, but for major elections, is conducted by the networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, and the cable news channels, along with the Associated Press. And the Associated Press is the principal party that conducts these exit polls. They also, use Matofsky International. It's an exit polling company, along with Edison. These cast of characters have controlled exit polling since the computers first got used back in 1964. And that's when accusations of vote fraud to do with the exit polls and the machines started to surface. So it's the pre-election poll that's very important as a check against the election results and the exit polling. For instance, let me give you an example. Clint Curtis down in Florida ran for Congress in 2006. He did his own pre-election polling, as did Zogby International, did pre-election polling on that particular race. The reason it was important was that Clint Curtis was a computer programmer who had been asked by his boss to write a program to hack into an election and change the numbers. She was doing this on behalf of the Republican candidate for office, and he was the congressman. Clint Curtis went public with it. He decided to run for office against Representative Feeney, and the pre-election polling showed that he and Feeney were neck and neck in the election. When the election took place, Clint Curtis lost by 16 percentage points. So what he did was, for the next 6 months, he targeted 10